welcome to the conversation with Alice Weidel, who is, I believe, currently the leading candidate to run Germany, I think, most popular in the polls. Welcome, Alice. Thank you for joining Spaces, and I look forward to this discussion. And perhaps we could start by outlining, if you could outline what AfD's platform is, what are the main things you're aiming for, where does Germany need change, and just to educate people who have never heard of AfD or AfD, if it be German, because a lot of people, especially in America, have never heard of AfD, so perhaps this would be very helpful.
Okay. Thank you very much, Elon, for having me and to give this opportunity to openly speak about different matters. Let me can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Perfect. To start with, who we are. The AfD is the alternative for Germany. It is a relatively new party, founded 11 years ago during the course of the Euro problems. Unfortunately, I have to start when I shed some light on our party with the quite negative circumstances in Germany. Our country is a great country with highly motivated people, but our country has been governed not in a proper way within the last 20-25 years. We had the Angela Merkel administration for 16 years, and then the so-called traffic light coalition that imploded last year, and now we're having elections. In my point of view, Angela Merkel, the first Green Chancellor, she ruined basically our country. She enforced, without asking the people, she enforced to open our borders for illegal immigration in 2015. She wrecked and destroyed our backbone in terms of obnoxious energy policy. For the foreign listeners here in this audience, Germany is the only industrial country that unplugged the nuclear power plant. So the aim of Angela Merkel was to enforce just solar and wind energy. And you don't need to be very smart to encounter that you cannot run an industrial country with just wind and solar, because you don't have any energy and electricity when the sun doesn't shine and when the wind doesn't blow. And this is a major problem.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of solar energy, but clearly, if a country is at a very high latitude, then the amount of solar power in the winter is going to be substantially reduced. And then, of course, there's a significant difference in the day-night cycle of energy usage. So a lot of power can be done with solar and with large-scale grid energy batteries. But it must be supplemented with other forms of power because there's not a lot of sunshine in the middle of winter in Germany. So the solution obviously must be a multifaceted solution where there is certainly renewables, but also there does need to be some amount of fossil fuel energy and especially nuclear. I think nuclear is very much underrated. I think it was tragic for Germany to shut down the nuclear power plants. In fact, they're very well designed, and I think that the right move is, in fact, to increase the amount of nuclear power substantially in Germany. This would be great. And I think,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. So that was the reason why I wanted to shed some light on the current situation. So in order to form an opinion what our party stand for, because this is exactly what you said. We stand for a energy supply diversification. We cannot run a industrial country like Germany with a still strong manufacturing base. To tell you the truth, our manufacturing production, it peaked in 2018 and it plummeted since then due to high energy costs. And you cannot run a country like that. So therefore, we say, look, we need to be technology open, and we need to reinforce again nuclear power plants, because nuclear energy supply is carbon free, right? So
Yes.
therefore, we would also reduce our carbon footprint, which is obnoxiously very, very high. And this is the entire irony about it. So our governments, like the Angela Merkel government and the so-called ridiculous traffic light coalition, they enforced a green policy upon our country that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And we would like to go back to technology openness here.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, my recommendation, and I've said this publicly before, is that Germany should not merely reopen the nuclear power plants, but substantially increase the power generation. In the same space, meaning without increasing the size of the nuclear power plant in any meaningful way, without increasing the amount of land area that it uses, you can dramatically increase the power output of a nuclear power station, because the actual core part of the power station is extremely tiny. People don't quite realize just how small the center core of a nuclear power plant is. It's like amazingly tiny, and so you can actually, in the same land area, no increased land area, dramatically increase the amount of nuclear power that any given nuclear power station is producing. You need a water source to run the steam turbines, but really far more power output is possible than people realize. And I think that the sensible solution is renewables, but with a lot of nuclear, and then to supplement where that there has to be some amount of hydrocarbon power generation to supplement where it just needs to be sensible.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you know what? So just let me do just like one more example, because like wind turbines, wind energy, in comparison to nuclear power supply, is highly inefficient. Also, in terms of land use. So, for instance, I give one example just to shed some light on it. If you were to replace one nuclear power plant, let's say like Emsland nuclear power plant here in Germany, with an annual electricity production of 10 billion kilowatt per hour, with modern wind turbines, with a production of just 8 million kilowatt per hour per year, you would need 1,250 wind turbines just to replace this one power plant. And with a rotor diameter of 70 meters and the minimum distance from large wind farms, you end up around with like 100 square kilometers. For example, this corresponds to half of the major city of Stuttgart, right?
Right.
So this entire thing, and just to stress the fact again, you don't need to be very smart just to do your calculations.
Yes.
But our energy policy.
I mean, that's the crazy thing. The crazy thing is like a bunch of these energy questions. You do not need to be like a world leading physicist. It's very basic math, like high school, less than high school level math. I'd say middle school math even. It's very straightforward, not complicated.
Yes, absolutely. And then during the crisis, like during the war. Huh? Sorry?
No, please go ahead.
Yeah. So during the war of Ukraine, so our gas supply was just destroyed, and that actually shed some light on our severe dependence on Russian gas. And do you know what the government decided in this crisis when the energy prices skyrocketed after we were cut off of cheap energy supply from Russia? They switched off the last nuclear power plant to even more create a shortage of energy.
Yeah.
So either you must be very stupid or you just hate your own country.
Well,
Isn't it?
I think it's mostly the very stupid category. At least I'd like to think so.
Very stupid.
Well, I mean, there's an old saying that like one should never ascribe to malice that which can easily be explained by incompetence.
Yes, you're perfectly right. Now, so
but yes, I actually, when I saw that Germany was turning off the power plants after being cut off from gas supplies, from Russia, I thought this is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Just when Germany most needs electricity,
yes.
Germany is shutting down one of the best sources of electricity, which is nuclear power.
Yes,
Crazy.
and completely carbon free.
Yeah, crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess to summarize the two main things that AfD is aiming for in terms of change is a sensible energy policy and sensible immigration policy.
Yes, exactly.
So,
but actually even more. So we would like, if I may continue a little bit, because now it's Elon, it's a complete new situation for me. That I just can have a normal conversation and I'm not interrupted or negatively framed, how that has been in the media the case in the last 10 years, which is completely ridiculous. So what we also stand for, since we are a conservative libertarian party, so at least we see ourselves like this, but we are extremely negatively framed as a so-called extremist party by the mainstream media. So we just say, look, we need to reduce bureaucracy. We need to free our firms, our companies, the individuals of this obnoxious bureaucratic conditions here. Yeah. Do you know like how long it takes, how many days it takes to get a business permit in Germany? Just guess.
As it turns out, I do, because we built.
The big plan.
We built a gigantic car factory, just near Berlin. So we had many challenges. I mean, this is, to be clear, like we actually had a lot of support, a lot of local support from the local government, from the national government, and despite all that support, just the sheer number of rules that the people in the government are required to follow is completely crazy, and we had to. I think it was 25,000 pages was our permit, and it had to be all printed on paper.
25,000.
Yes, I think maybe more than that in the end. 25,000, and then there has to be many copies made. So it literally was a truck of paper. Because and we're like, surely we can make this electronic, isn't that better for everyone?
No, not possible. You need to have that on paper in Germany.
And they say, no, it has to be paper. I'm like, this is crazy. This is only a few years ago. It's not the distant past. I mean, it's like we're well into we're a quarter of the way through the 21st century. It's like, guys, let's just 25,000 actual printed pages, and then I believe every page needed to be stamped with a physical stamp. I mean, honestly, it's going to really tire somebody out to do so much stamping.
Yeah.
They're going to get some sort of repetitive stress injury. Yeah, they're going to get a repetitive stress injury from having to stamp so many people.
Stress injuries.
It's like just send them to the hospital or something. I mean, that's too much.
Yeah.
So,
Lack of labor.
but I'm not trying to blame the sort of individuals who are doing this time, because they are just following the rules. So we have to change the rules, and there needs to be, I think, in my view, for all countries, but especially countries that have enjoyed prosperity for a long time, it is extremely important to have what I call sort of garbage collection of rules, which is to re-examine the rules and regulations, and make sure that they are clearly a net good, and if there's any doubt about them being a net good, we should eliminate them, because otherwise we get to this point where everything is illegal, and so it's just absolutely crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not only about bureaucracy, it's also about taxes. Germany has the highest taxes
Yes.
of all OECD countries. So, so the normal German employee, he works more than half of a year for the state. You have to imagine that.
You're right.
Like with taxes plus social security. So more than half of the year you work for this dysfunctioning state, because like the state does not provide the vital provisions for the people here. So he doesn't provide for security. So we have like skyrocketing criminal rates here.
Right.
He doesn't care about education. So we have this same insane, wokish, leftish, socialist agenda in our educational system. So the young people, they don't learn anything in school, in university, etc. So they just learn about gender studies.
Are you serious?
And they just, yeah. No, really.
I was under the impression that Germany had a pretty good education system that was quite rigorous with the gymnasium and all that sort of stuff. At least it used to at one point. So, but it sounds like this has I don't know, the woke mind virus has infected Germany quite badly.
Yeah. So you have the international standard of PISA testing, right? So the PISA survey.
Right.
So Germany, like a couple of years ago, was okay scored. Okay. But now, so we just plummeted because the survey showed that young people are not able to properly do math or speak or write German. And in some states here in Germany, you have to imagine they just abolished the writing grades in terms to get the language grade, right? So you don't need to write German properly anymore because our entire educational system has been deteriorating.
Wow.
And that is also the reason, for instance, why young people, they vote for us now, because they want to have a proper education and they want to have back a proper educational system that provides the young people with capabilities. And that is also the reason why so my personal opinion is that we have to go back to a merit-based system, right? So we need to go back to a merit-based incentive system. And go away from all this socialist gender things being in our educational system.
Right.
The families and the parents, they have the responsibility of their children, and the schools and the university, they have the responsibility to give good education and not all this woke socialist nonsensical gender stuff.
Sure. No, absolutely. I mean, the whole point of going to school is to learn useful skills that help you in life, help you be productive and understand the world. Otherwise, it's not a school. It's just a propaganda institution.
True.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So, let's see. Yeah.
So maybe I can just go on, because I was just giving an example of the educational system, where the state fails because our state, the government, collected in the last year a record high of income tax. So they collected like around above 1 trillion, right, of euros. So it is a record high tax.
Wow.
But the state, they cannot handle taxpayers' money. So what do? So they just throw the money out of the window for immigration in our social system, for instance. So since 2015, just to give you some numbers and also the audience to have an idea what's going on here in Germany. So we had an influx of almost 7 million people, but these are the officially counted. So
7 million people? Wow. Okay.
7 million people of influx since 2015 officially counted.
Wow.
And then because the people, they just another funny numbers. Our state allows people to throw away their passports before they cross our borders that are not protected and controlled. So 57%, almost 60% of the people coming into our country through an open border, they throw away their papers. Why do they do that? Because once entered our country, our funny country, with this funny immigration policy, they cannot be deported anymore. So that's the reason why. So our state, our government, like the Angela Merkel government and the last one, they proclaimed a policy that everyone can choose to cross our border to immigrate into our social security system and cannot be deported afterwards because they threw away their passports.
This is crazy.
Like how insane is that?
Well, it is very insane, but that's exactly what's happened in the U.S. I mean, clearly there's a sort of I don't know, a sort of a far left agenda that's being pushed throughout Western civilization, any place they can go, because the exact same thing was done in the U.S. where. And now they're sort of calling people illegal immigrants. They call them undocumented, and the reason they're undocumented is because they threw away their passport, just like you're talking about. In fact, if you, on the Mexican side of the border in the U.S., there's a giant pile of discarded passports and driver's licenses, like a huge pile.
Unbelievable.
Because it's actually worse to come in with a passport than to come in with nothing. And then, just like in Germany, the Democrat government then gives massive amounts of money and support to what they call undocumented. But if they're undocumented, we actually have no idea if they are a murderer, rapist. We have no idea because they have no documents, so we can't actually tell. And so as a result, there's been a massive influx of criminals into the U.S. And frankly. I'm wondering what's taking criminals so long to come here. I mean, this is America's a target-rich environment. It's you can in America. It's so easy to steal things in these wealthy neighborhoods. It's like the only thing that is going to slow down how much you can steal is if your back hurts from carrying out all the goods. It's like because you're just like you're not a robber. You're just a moving company. It seems like all the world's criminals should just come to America on that basis, because it's it's much easier to be a career criminal in America than it is in other countries where there's not that much to steal.
Yeah.
So we've seen a massive increase in crime in the U.S.
Yeah. May I ask a question
Of
on
course,
that?
yeah.
So I read that, for instance, in California, by the way, I'm very sorry what's happening there. It's terrible. It's really terrible to see. It's terrible. But in the case of California, that they just lifted the prosecution of theft because you have so many cases of theft. Is it true?
Yes. The de facto situation in California is that theft is almost never prosecuted. It's maybe 1 or 2, maybe 1% of the time is theft prosecuted, and even when it is prosecuted, the criminals are let out on bail immediately. So basically, theft is legal in California. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Now there was recently a referendum in California to make crime to make stealing illegal again, which was and actually that was a very popular, and it passed. Because it was actually literally legal to steal anything under $1,000, which means people could just walk into a store at $1,000 at a time and take out anything they want. And if the storekeeper stopped them, the storekeeper would be arrested. So this is literally like the Joker and Batman. It's like the criminals, are in charge, and the honest citizens are arrested. It's just completely insane. Now, like I said, the people in California did vote overwhelmingly to make theft illegal again. But astonishingly, the governor of California, Governor Newsom, he was against the making theft illegal. Which doesn't make any sense.
And he just didn't implement it?
Yeah, well, no, but what they're going to do is, even though it is technically illegal again, the sort of far left will refuse to enforce it. So because you really need two things for something to work, for laws to work. You need both the law and you need enforcement of the law. And if you don't have, so, I mean, this is something that George Soros really figured out. I mean, he's sort of a brilliant guy, but honestly, very, anti-human in my opinion. Is that you don't actually need to change the law; you just need to stop enforcement of the law, and that does the trick. So, I think there is somewhat of a reawakening in the U.S. and I think even in California, people are tired of this, and they want change. And I think that's really, if you say, like, why people are wondering, like, why did Donald Trump win? And it wasn't just a small victory. In the U.S. elections this year, President Trump won the Electoral College. He also won the popular vote, majority of the people. And the House is Republican and the Senate is Republican. What this says is the American people are demanding change. They're being very clear. And my recommendation for the people in Germany is to do the same. If you are unhappy with the situation, you must vote for change. And that is why I'm really strongly recommending that people vote for AfD. That's my strong recommendation. And I think this is simply the sensible move. And I think Alice Weidel is a very, very reasonable person, and hopefully people can tell just from this conversation, like, nothing outrageous is being proposed, just common sense. So, in fact, I, as I've said publicly, I think only AfD can save Germany. And I just want to be very clear about that. Only AfD can save Germany. End of story. And people really need to get behind the AfD, and otherwise things are going to get very, very much worse in Germany.
Yes, because you rightly said, there is a difference of making a law and then enforcing it. So now we have the situation in Germany where you have, on the one hand, you have the AfD, and on the other hand, what's so-called the uniparties, right? Yeah. The uniparty consisting of all the others, because they stick together, and no matter what they say, they're not able to implement, to enforce the promises they're doing in every election, especially the Angela Merkel party. Do you know that the chancellor candidate, so my running mate of the Christ Democratic Party, that it's wrongly labeled, for instance, by The Economist as a center-right party. So in my opinion, it's a leftish Green party. But anyway, Angela Merkel was the first Green chancellor we had here. So what he did